Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee? I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it. Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the morning grind. It's the Wednesday edition, so that means that it is World Building Wednesday, where we will be continuing to work on world building. So it's so good to have you here. I see some new faces. So, okay, Daniel is here. Good morning. Good to see you. Lord Maelstrom is also here. Greetings and well met, fellow travelers. Well met to you as well. Kat Monroe, superhero, is here saying hi. So welcome. It's so good to have you. I hope your morning has been going well. Mine sure has. There's been so much chaos going on in the tabletop gaming community around here. With the last week and a half has just been chaos. So I intentionally, after the Bob interview with Bob, crashed, got excellent sleep, woke up this morning, refreshed early, trying to get back on schedule. So hopefully we're past the crisis point of all of this D&D OGL situation, unless something drops from Wizards of the Coast itself. I think we kind of got things sorted out. If you have not seen the interview with Bob Tarantino last night, it was excellent, and I think adds so much insight into this entire situation. If you don't know, Bob Tarantino is an IP lawyer in Canada, and he did his PhD dissertation specifically on the open gaming license that Wizards of the Coast put out for Dungeons and Dragons, and he really knows his stuff. Obviously, I mean, he wrote a 300-page dissertation on it. And we went through that dissertation on the channel. I got to talk with him last night. I am going to clip specific subjects from that out very soon, probably starting this afternoon, because I think it's critically important information. When, as far as my opinion goes on all of that, after talking with Ryan Dancy, who was the architect of the OGL, that we found out that basically the OGL, it was intended to be exactly what we all thought it was. And then once I went through the dissertation, Bob's dissertation, and then spoke with him directly to get some clarification, I'm convinced it is what we think it is. I mean, that's my position. And Wizards of the Coast, for some reason, because of this leak, seems to be the only group of people, only publisher that I know of who potentially, because of the leak, they haven't actually done anything yet. They have not done anything yet. But this has all been put into motion because there was a leak that for all of a sudden they were not going to play ball. That they were not playing ball with the understanding of what the OGL is. So I think we got it figured out, unless there's some kind of new kind of stuff that comes in. And of course, if there's some type of statement from Wizards officially, then we'll go to that. Chase says, morning all. Hope everyone is having a great day so far. And Andrew says, and it was a good interview. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. I was really pleased with it. I was very pleased with the way that it goes. That's and it's information. If you share it too, like I said, I'll be clipping it, but I think everyone in the community needs to check out that interview if they are concerned about the status of open gaming. Because I've been staying on this also because open gaming is so important. I've realized, of course, it affects all of my friends who are publishers, but also the philosophy of open gaming and what we're doing here in the tabletop community. It impacts that. And I only come with much more respect to what Ryan did and the vision that he had for open gaming and what it is and what it means. And we've been working with that on Tuesdays. On Tuesdays, we design a tabletop RPG. And we were looking at yesterday, how we actually use the open gaming license and open gaming content to facilitate our own game creation. So we were looking at all of that yesterday. So it's very important. Today is World Building Wednesday. And so we're going to be looking at Tales of Rabivania. I'm going to talk about how we're integrating the world building with the stories, how the world building differs from the RPG creating, because we need some RPG rules to put into this, and also how this relates to the story writing. Because was that yesterday? Man, it was Monday. It was Monday. I had a fantastic meeting with a guy out in LA who works in Hollywood, who's been helping me try to get the stories for these two worlds into good condition so that they could potentially, do something. So I'm trying to work several different angles, because I love the tabletop gaming community. So that's why we're working with tabletop games, specifically role-playing games, but other tabletop games. We've been very RPG heavy on this channel lately, but all different kinds of tabletop games for the worlds. But man, the novel, I've always wanted to write the novels, haven't gotten the stories right yet. We can talk more about that. But man, we had a fantastic meeting on Monday, and God, it's going so well. Hey, Stray, good to see you. Okay, let's breathe and then sip, and then we will get to the messages, and then we will dive right in. So deep breath, full exhale. We'll do that twice. Everybody got your beverage with you? I was working this morning and I forgot to brew coffee. So I've got water here with me, but that's good. So deep inhale. And now sip. If you're not taking the opportunity to do that with us, you should be. You will feel better. Deep inhale, complete exhale. You'll feel better. All right, let's go to the messages. The Cultist is our comedy web show about modern-day Lovecraftian cultists just trying to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand.
Fish are friends, not food.
I'm a little worried about Rob.
Yes, it's happening.
Ever since we tried to summon Cthulhu, he hasn't been the same.
I'm growing gills. My transformation into a deep one has finally begun.
Rob, we don't see any gills.
It's these kids getting involved in all this stuff causes them to go crazy.
Seasons 1 and Season 2 are on my YouTube channel now. Each episode is only 5 to 7 minutes long, and you can watch the replays of the live after parties that we had with the cast and crew. They were a lot of fun. The Morning Grind is also brought to you by the Thrones and Bones Viking-inspired RPG setting. The Player's Guide to Norengard packages all the player-focused character mechanics in a spoiler-free package so players can build characters and play without ruining GM surprises. Get the books on DriveThruRPG today. The Morning Grind is also brought to you by the world of Etaltis. The Etaltis Player's Guide includes a new point-based magic system that's a fantastic alternative to the traditional Vancian magic of 5e. Check it out on etaltis.com and get it for your table. The Morning Grind is also brought to you by World Anvil. Check out the World Anvil website to learn more about everything that it can do for you and your world building and your games, and also be sure to use the code MORNINGGRIND to get 40% off any annual World Anvil subscription. I knew World Anvil was great for game masters and for writers who are developing their worlds and want a beautiful site to display and manage all of that information. But what I didn't know is that World Anvil also offers extensive tools for players, including character sheets, journals, inventory management, and spell books, basically all the digital tools a player who is looking to immerse themselves in their character would need. We're going to be using World Anvil here on Morning Grind to build out the worlds of Rabivania and Theophany, so we'll get to see it in action here as we go on the show. Alright, that's it for the messages. Let's get to the main topic. Alright. Please check out World Anvil, check out the world of Etaltis, check out Thrones and Bones. We really appreciate all of them being with us. And also, if you haven't seen the Cultists, check out the Cultists on the channel. I'm thinking about doing another watch party for the Cultists. I know there are a lot of people here on the channel who haven't seen it, and we've never actually done a watch party where we went through Season 1 and Season 2 completely. So that might have to happen soon. Okay, so what's the status over here with this world? Because we're doing the RPG building as well, because I said if I want to build my own RPG, now is the time. So that's why we've been doing that on Tuesdays. But really, the main focus that I've been trying to work on is building out 2 worlds. You know, the kind of the main purpose here. And I've got 2 worlds. The Tales of Rabivania, which is our world of medieval rabbits, which is intended to be, well, a positive, but also very serious story of medieval rabbits, chivalry, honor, all of that. And I've been working on trying to bring this forward in a multiple different ways. You probably see behind me, I've got prototypes of plush toys. This is a manufacturer plush toy. Manufacturer's prototype of that, one of the rabbit knights. This is Sir Boars right here. And then also, by the way, I've been working on these prototypes of action figures you may have seen also on the channel. This is a non-articulated prototype. This was a 3D printed prototype that I painted up. And boy, action figures are very complicated. So that's still going on at the manufacturer as well to get that prototyped and everything like that. This has been going on for a long time. So that's one of the worlds. The other one will be Theophany, which tells the story of the fall of Lucifer, and it's much more adult-oriented and kind of in the theme of HBO Game of Thrones and such. So I had been writing the mythology surrounding the Tales of Rabivania for quite a while, and I was very happy with the way that it was going, and I liked the methodology, I mean, the mythology. But then I was getting connected with people who were helping out with story writing and things like that. I was hoping that, okay, we'll be releasing that on YouTube to get people into the stories of the Tales of Rabivania and what's going on here. And when I was talking to people out in LA, they said, or one particular person, he was like, all right, he had a lot of commentary on that particular story. And so basically it's got to be completely rewritten. He was like, do not release this. This is not ready to go out on all these issues that need to be. So it just has to be completely rewritten. So I was like, oh my God, what do I do now? Because now I was anticipating, like, you know, by now or starting about now or maybe in a month or two, being able to start releasing Rabivania stories and then moving on to Theophany and such as well. But, well, it turns out that was a big no-go. And I found that out, maybe that was like August or something, or August or September, that I got a big no-go on everything I had written, and I'm going to have to completely rewrite it. So in that time, so over the next several months, and this is still an ongoing process then, we have been working to try to figure out exactly what story it is that if I could only tell one, because it's the whole world. So, you know, it's a campaign setting, like we're talking about, you know, building for role-playing games, the whole campaign setting. So there are a bunch of different stories. I designed it so a whole bunch of different stories could be told in it. And so we've been on the hunt trying to figure out exactly what story it is that if there was just one, what would it be? And he won't let me start writing either until the entire, which is good, which is until the entire beat sheet of the story is done, right? Until I know exactly what the story is. And then I can turn that into a novel or a movie script. So we have been working on that. So we've been going back and forth on that, tearing things apart, discarded an entire other story between September and now. But now we are finally on the hunt for that. Well, so what's its status? Well, I don't know, because it's still taking a while. The beat sheet isn't done yet. So I'm not writing and not writing this actual story yet, just working on the beat sheet. But that means that, well, first of all, I have to be able to protect my core creative time to be able to continue writing. With the chaos of the OGL, all of my time went on that and getting information out to the community about that. But I got to make sure that I'm protecting my time on that. That's so important. We talk about that for everybody here on the channel. There's a lot of creative people here on the channel. And, hopefully you're getting energy from the morning grind if you are a creative person. And many of us are trying to run business as well. And there's a big difference between the running of the business or a publishing company, if you're trying to self-publish something, than if you are, then actually the core creative part of what you are trying to create. Writing your book, making your game, shooting your film, whatever. That's very different from being a publishing company. Very different. So it's very important to protect your core creative time. So I've got to work on that starting this afternoon, making sure that I dedicate time for that. But okay, so that's the story side of things. So there's going to be a lot of time before the stories can start coming out again or begin coming out. Well, what do I want to do with Rabivania in the meantime? Well, I love RPGs. I want to be able to create the campaign settings for that. And I'd like to be able to create, to put my own RPG rules in there, which is why we're working on that on Tuesday. But on Wednesdays, when we're doing the world building, well, let's build the world, and we can put all kinds of other RPG rules in there. Because my philosophy is also, different people are going to look at this, and different people are going to have different kinds of play styles, and will see different things in this and want to play differently. And that's perfectly okay. Because, your play style is your play style. So I thought, hey, wait a minute. Why can't there be multiple sets of rules that are involved in a campaign setting anyway? And we don't often see, as we brought up here on the channel, dual or triple campaign rule systems. Now, we may start seeing that because I've heard from some people who are like, hey, I've got my campaign settings. Now I want to diversify the rule sets. So that's possible. But let me tell you one reason why that's so difficult. And because that's what we were talking about with, I had written the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows RPG, which is not published. Wrote 2 books for that. And then edited an adventure for that, which is so good. I hope that it comes out. But, a lot of people, when they're doing RPG campaign settings, and this would have been the case with the Journey book too. It's a whole lot of stuff that you're doing these giant books like Lou has done with Thrones and Bones that has such fantastic art in it. The layout, the Thrones and Bones art would be the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows art would be fantastic because David LaRocca is on the case. And, if you're familiar with Elder Dice and David's artwork, it's just absolutely incredible. So there's that. And so if you're going to produce some type of massive book like this, so we're kind of coming up with a strategy for world building here as well. If you're going to produce one of these massive books, then you're only going to do it probably once. These things, the World of Ataltis is another example we've looked at. Man, just beautiful art, layout. Everything about this. So if you're going to do that, you're going to do it once, probably. But I had the idea that, well, what if we started much smaller? What if we started much smaller and then we're able to, so it would be less of a big deal to apply to republish the world content under a number of different rules. Why not do that? And so what would the core that I'd want to get across in these worlds to give to people and say, this is kind of what this is. So my idea now had been, I want to write 10,000 words on Rabivania and then also Theophany as a world primer to describe what those worlds are, and then also include some game rules in there. Eventually, we'll include the Fated Edge rules because that's the RPG we're working on Tuesday. But in the meantime, we might as well include the rules for other game systems, and then it's less of a big deal to publish out 4 different PDFs that has the same setting information, but has different rules for different RPGs because that way, whatever one you know, whatever one's your favorite, hey, look, there we go. So that's the strategy of approach here, right? So the goal, actually, with the RPG Faded Edge, the goal was how could I describe this RPG in 10,000 words? How can I describe Theophany in 10,000 words? And how can I describe the Tales of Rabivania in 10,000 words? Let's go to the comments here. Morning. Okay, so Colonel Kronk says the beat sheet. Okay, so the beat sheet is basically a heading and then 2 or 3 sentences about what that scene is. So I've broken down. Okay, so the script is going to be, if it's a movie script, and the guy I'm working with is kind of recommending that I write the movie script first off of the beat sheet and then do the novel. Now, I'm very interested in writing a novel because I've wanted to write a novel for a long time. But he recommended doing the movie script first. And so it would be a 120-page movie script, right? And that also kind of works because the novel, I would also think, would be about 120,000 words. So by chance, we're having multiples of the same kind of thing here. So we got the beat sheet here. And so I've broken down, I know I got 120 pages. So that means that like Act 1 needs to take 30% of that. So I basically got 30 pages. I basically have 30 pages to get all of Act 1 done. And then I've got another 30 pages to get all of Act 3 done. And then the Act 2 will be in the middle. And I know where the middle of Act 2 is. So every single scene that has to take place in that needs to be on the beat sheet. And so, if you're writing a script, 1 minute of screen time is 1 page of script, roughly. So that's why if you got a 120-minute movie, 2-hour movie, you got 120 pages of script. And so when we're talking about story structure, the beat sheet lets all the writers talk about story structure so that we're not bogged down in the descriptions of clothing when we're writing things or the world building effort. The beat sheet is not world building effort. The characters, they're kind of described rather than named. Like I've got the character Lady Bard. Now she'll have a name, but she's Lady Bard right now, so we can talk about it. So the beat sheet describes every single moment in the story, every single significant moment in the story that is moving us through the plot of this story. So that's what he and I are talking about. We're not actually looking at the script. Like, what are the actual written words, the dialogue? We're not looking at pages or paragraphs of novel script or words or anything like that. We're looking at the beat sheet. What are all the beats of the story from 0 to done? James Bacon, greetings, welcome. Thank you for that question, Colonel, by the way. That was a great question. James Bacon says, I found you through this whole WotC OGL debacle. Great channel and excellent content. Also nice teeth. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you on both levels of that. Yes, I know a lot of people are coming in because of the OGL stuff, and I really appreciate that. I really hope, I try to make this a very constructive place, the channel as a whole, and I hope that, especially through the Dancy interviews and the Bob Tarantino interviews, that we have constructively added to the community's knowledge of this situation. Perguso, hey, welcome. Hey, greetings from Brazil. Well, hey, welcome. Brazil, and that's pretty cool. Are those the Motu collection from behind? Yes, I do have Masters of the Universe behind me. He-Man was a major inspiration for me as a kid, very influential on me. And that's actually one of the reasons, because I had so many action figures as a kid, that's one of the reasons why an action figure line, to me, is an essential part of the Tales of Rabivania, because of the influence of that. So Kat Monroe says, I'm reading my story, The Restoration of Thayer, on my channel. Oh, cool. So yeah, so I haven't figured out how to release the stories. Of course, they'll be in text, but I think something like that, I want to do like audio versions of them as well. We did Goodnight Sword, which some people have seen, and Goodnight Sword is set in the Tales of Rabivania, obviously a takeoff of Goodnight Moon, which was an animated audiobook. Okay, so what does that mean that we need to do? Okay, so let me show you how I'm structuring this, because let me bring this up over here. Okay. Because one of the issues that I've had for a long time is that I will write stuff. have written a lot of stuff in this world. I've written a lot of stuff in Theophany that has never actually gotten published or actually done anything. I'm notorious for going and doing or writing the wrong thing. And that's because, well, sometimes you don't know what to write or what to actually do. So you need somebody to give you some guidance. And fortunately, that's the kind of guidance I've been getting as far as the story goes. In my Monday meetings, we meet every couple of weeks or every month or something like that. So I'm getting lots of great direction over there. What kind of stuff do I need to make as far as the world goes? Well, like I said, creating a book like this is the ultimate goal, creating a large setting book. But starting off with that, I've done that when I wrote Journey to the Tree of Sorrows. That's another example. I wrote tons of stuff that never got published. I think it is still going to be published, but I don't have any kind of timeline. But that was a tremendous amount of effort writing those RPG books, and that was a couple of years ago, and they're not published yet. So I need a much more manageable project in order to start off with, and that's why I said the 10,000 words. So now, what needs to be in those 10,000 words? Well, I'm taking inspiration from Wolfgang Bauer, and he is the guy who leads Kobold Press. We all know Kobold Press, and then they do the Midgard. Somebody had a problem with the way that I was saying Midgard the other day. So the Midgard campaign setting, and on a podcast with him, he was saying, what do people want to know? So if you're thinking about writing a campaign setting, this is what, according to Wolfgang, who knows what he's talking about because he's got the very successful Midgard campaign setting, the people want to know the people, and by people, he meant player characters. We can talk about NPCs as well, but like what type of players are going on this adventure? What type of character can you be? And then he also said we want to know the locations, and the locations need to have a reason for adventure. And then we also need to understand magic in a fantasy campaign. So he gave those three things. I said, okay, well then if I got 10,000 words and he's telling me those are the core parts of your world book, I got 10,000 words to express that right there. Let's see. So I'm going to so I made an outline of exactly what I needed to write. I will look at that. We'll bring that up here in just a second, and then we'll look at here. So Andrew says, for Rabivania, were you envisioning basically anthropomorphized rabbits in a custom version of medieval Western Europe, or like a different society structure? They are 13th century rabbits. 13th. So yes, they are basically anthropomorphized rabbits in a custom medieval Western Europe. Yeah, they are. So you can see like this guy's decked out in mail. They are definitely in the age of mail here. So these are 13th century rabbits. I also love the 14th century. So there may be stories later that are kind of like that advance them to kind of the 14th century. But right now, this is taking place in a 13th century, the Western medieval world fantasy setting when everyone is rabbits, as if it's about the 13th century. Lord Maelstrom says, it seems like you try really hard to keep things positive in your streams, even during the current OGL crisis. Have to respect that. Well, thank you. That is important to me because it seems like everywhere you go, it's very easy to be negative. It's very easy to be negative. And I know there are a lot of different YouTube channels that there is that section of YouTube that can be very negative all the time. And sometimes that's positive. That's why I actually use the word constructive. By being constructive, we become positive. But that doesn't mean that we always have to like something. I mean, if we don't like a book, a movie, whatever, we can critique it. We can say that. We can review it. But by being constructive, we become positive. Retro Nerd Girl says, this is very interesting to me because I'm writing 2 stories that I want to make short movies for. Right. I know so many people are trying to go on this journey as well. So that's why I'm kind of documenting this journey to try to do this publicly. So, right, because and now that's the world building, all that stuff is stuff that I know a lot of people are doing. And also, I wrote the Journey to Tree of Sorrows books, but then they never got published. So in the interim, a lot of my friends got out ahead of me. So all of a sudden, I feel like I'm behind. So I'm trying to feel like I'm playing catch up with all of my friends. Michael of St. Joseph says you have to put a Monty Python and Holy Grail reference for the killer rabbit. We will see. We will see. I don't want that to be over the top, because even though my goal for Rabivania is to be a family story, and that's kind of a hard genre now, because I do take it very seriously, this is not a comedy story. This is the Tales of Rabivania is not comedy. It's taken very seriously, but it is family friendly. But that's the serious component of it. I want there are some elements for humor and joking and things like that, especially I think visually in a story, because they are small, right? So when they interact with something like even that the size of, like an apple or an oak leaf or something like that, they're small, so those things would be much larger to them. So I think there's an element of that could be comedic. Maybe there needs to be a passing reference to the killer rabbit someplace. I mean, it seems like something you have to work in, but not. But I want to be sure we're doing it in the right way. A Vorpal bunny, right? Yeah, be a berserk. Yeah, so there may be some type of legend or something like that we work in. Okay, so let me go over here to the structure that I started to create then, because this is my structure for getting it done then. So I'm using Scrivener. I use Scrivener a lot, and I said, all right, I've got 10,000 words here, and so I was like, what actually needs to be in this? I don't think I can make this any larger because it's not like a web page. It's just Scrivener. The text in other places I can, but I don't think I can make this page larger. But anyway, so I started off with an outline, and this is how I got the Journey to the Tree of Sorrows book done as well, because I was like, I'm tired of just writing a bunch of stuff. The first thing I want to do is I want to start with an outline of exactly what needs to be in this book. I know I've only got 10,000 words, so I'm going to assign word counts to every single part of this, so I know exactly what I need to write and what my word budget is to get it done. Now, we can expand on this later. The intention is definitely to expand on all of this later, but I needed some kind of core here. So I said, okay, we're going to need the copyright page. We're going to need the table of contents. We're going to need the preface. And oh, by the way, if we're talking about physical product size right here, I'm taking inspiration from this right here. So this is the Fate Accelerated book, and we can take a look at its size. And we were taking a look at, its physical size. So I expect PDF, but I'd love to get some printed as well. So if it's going to become a physical object, it needs to be, I'm going for this size. So I anticipate, or I believe, that about 10,000 pages, 10,000 words would fill this up. And plus, of course, there's going to be some art. We need the character sheets. We're also going to need the game statistics. So this does not include game statistics. So that's why I'm saying maybe 10,000 words worth of description, and then that might leave me about 2,500 words for game statistics, plus some space for maps, graphics, and illustrations of some kind. So this book right here is 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. Yeah, 48. It's 48 pages. So as far as a physical product, I want to create, it needs to be a 48-page PDF plus front and back. So you also have to think, it's another thing that from tabletop publishing in the past, you got to think from the very beginning about if this is going to be a physical product, what this physical product is going to be. So this would be a 48-page book. It would be this. So Thactotem says, is this a Mouse Guard, Mouse Ritter style game of the game world? I am not familiar with either one of those. Mouse Ritter, the RPG, I have looked at, and we need to look at that here on this channel. I am almost not familiar with Mouse Guard at all. Now, of course, I have had this idea for this world ever since 6th grade. You can find my handwritten notes and everything detailing. I was writing a novel, like handwritten in Rabivania. I got hundreds of pages of notebook stuff dating back to 6th grade when I started writing this story. So this is something that's been with me forever. Now, today's story is completely different, but it started that time. So what was going on at the time? Now, and I started writing Rabivania before this, but I think it is more like Redwall. Now, Redwall, I hadn't read Redwall when I started all of this. And there's some major differences I found between Redwall and this, but that kind of thing. Digest size is very popular, but it's taught me something very important. I need glasses. Well, yeah, I don't want the text to be too small. So we'll see, but that's why I'm going 10,000. Benham says, I love the idea of a Fate system and the fact there's an SRD online and the PDFs for the core books or pay what you want. Yeah, that's very nice. So we might need a Fate version of this. I really like Fate. There's a lot. a lot I like about it. There's still some things that we brought up that I don't, which is why we've been working on the Fated Edge system on Tuesdays, where I'm trying to fix some things with it. Roman lives. I'm right there with you. I found some digest-sized books that increase the page count simply by being able to increase the print size a bit, and I love them. Dr. Articon, you should look at some of the old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Oh, there are Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles RPG source books? How did I not know? Yes, we definitely need to look at that. Now, Bunnies and Burrows, Chthonic Musings, Bunnies and Burrows. I've definitely looked at Bunnies and Burrows, yeah. Now, a major difference between what we're doing here in Bunnies and Burrows is that Bunnies and Burrows is, they are rabbits. They don't wear armor and use swords and things like that. But yes, we need to look at Bunnies and Burrows additionally as well. Okay, so let me bring this back up. So I said we got 10,000 words here. I'm going to need a copyright page. I'm going to need the table of contents. I'm going to need a preface here. I'm going to need an introduction. Then we need to hit the 3 items that Wolfgang was talking about. The player characters, something about player characters, the gazetteer, which is going to describe locations in the world, and then religion and magic. And then if I have time, I think that or word count, which I think we need, something about orders and organizations, and then maybe a bit of a bestiary. So that to me seems like a minimum kind of outline that might tell somebody what the Tales of Rabivania is and how you might get started playing in it. So the player characters, we would need to talk about species, and we would need to talk about classes and professions. And like I said, this can be expanded later. Not only can the text in any particular article be expanded later and will be expanded later, but also the number of different things in there can be expanded. So I assigned over here, like I said, okay, let's go 300 words for the preface. Let's go 750 for the introduction. Let's try to describe the player characters stuff in 1,550 words. I've allocated 2,500 words for the gazetteer because that's going to tell you where to go adventuring. With religion and magic, I allocated 1,900 words. For orders and organizations, which includes the description of knighthood, that'd be 1,700 pages, 1,700 words. And then the bestiary would be 1,250 words. So that's right at 10,000 words. It might be about 50 less or something like that. It's pretty close. I was adding it up before the stream here. So that's pretty close to what it would be if I hit those targets. So under player characters, the first thing is, well, what species are you? And I had other species here. Now, in Rabivania, not all of the species talk. Not everything is sentient. Now, I know that like in Redwall, there seem to be a lot of species that walk around and talk. That's not the case in Rabivania. Only a select number of species actually do that, the rabbits being the main one. So we could describe other ones here, like you see a mouse in Goodnight Sword. But with limited space, it seems like the focus of this, because it is the Tales of Rabivania, that the rabbits should be the one that's up. So the rabbits need to go here to describe the situation with the rabbits and how to actually be a rabbit using the rules of whatever game system we're about to play. Now, classes and professions, that we might have a little bit more space here because the big one is the knight. So describing knighthood, what a knight is right there. And maybe some of the information on knighthood needs to move up there and out of orders and organizations. So the knights, the druids are a major force. And then I thought we could add witch and then damsel of the royal blood. Now, this right here, this is Charity. This is our prototype of a plush toy, which is Charity. And she is actually a member of this quasi-religious order, the damsel, the damsels of the royal blood. So I thought that describing her order could work. That doesn't mean there's not other things in Rabivania, like thieves, rangers. There's a lot of other things that you could be in Rabivania as well, but these seem the most relevant. And if we can put them all 4 in, then you'd be able to, okay, everybody's playing a rabbit right now, but at least there are 3 different options or 4 different options for what type of rabbit that you're going to be, and maybe put together a nice little adventuring party. So everybody has some different options. And that doesn't mean, like I said, that you can't apply some different option from some other RPG book in here. For instance, if we were using the 5th edition SRD, and we put 5th edition rules in here, then why not be a rabbit ranger or rabbit thief or something like that? Let's see. Oh, there's a lot been going on over here. Yeah, Chase. Yeah, it's the Peter Cottontail type of stories. Yeah. Andrew says, plenty of room for all ideas. Mice Templar and Mouse Guard overlapped in publication of the original comics. I don't think anyone thinks anything of it. Yeah, I mean, clearly I've not been the only one who had this, the idea of a world of medieval rabbits like this, or just medieval animals like this in general. Talking about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles I see in the chat. I had not thought about that in terms of an RPG. We do definitely have to look at this. Michael of St. Joseph says, I really like how you have this outline broken down. It gives me some great ideas. Thank you. I've come to the conclusion that it's essential. Because like I said, I will sit here and I will enjoy myself writing a whole bunch of stuff, maybe having a glass of wine. But if it doesn't actually write what needs to be done, then it doesn't work. And so the beat sheet for the Tales of Rabivania is basically a breakdown kind of like this. I'm not going to show that. But the beat sheet for the story, we're basically doing the same thing. This is exactly what the structure of the story is going to be. That way we know exactly where the story is going, what needs to happen with the story, and then word, or if it's a script, page count assigned. So we know, okay, this has got to happen, and it needs to happen in 2 pages of script or 3 pages of script. And then we got to move on. We got to get from this point to the next point, because then the next scene picks up and has to do this and a certain number of things. So this is how I'm approaching all of my writing projects now. Mill Master. I've seen seen that, and I don't know anything about it. Thocterm exists. Is this a world where humans exist, or like Disney's Robin Hood? Much more like Disney's Robin Hood. You're not going to see humans in this. You're not going. No, they're not dealing with humans. This is a completely separate environment. No humans. Great question, but yeah, no humans. Lord Maelstrom, this is a great tool. Thank you. All right. Well, Chase says, for sure, having the 10,000 K goal in mind not only allows you to keep the digest size you're wanting, but also helps focus your creativity to dwelling on the specifics needed for the first book. Exactly. That's why I recommend this. And the idea of constraints. Some people are like, man, I can't be creative when I've got constraints. Well, that's completely not true. If you're having trouble getting things created, give yourself some constraints. That actually helps you. So as soon as you say, because we also talk about what's the most you could possibly do. Well, what's the most you could possibly do? I can think of tons of stuff that's the most I can possibly do for both Rabivania and Theophany. But as soon as you say, all right, what's the least I can do that would communicate what I want in this world that can be expounded on later? Oh, well, it's this right here. So now I have some constraints. It's this size, it's 48 pages, and that's it. And it's 10,000 words. Now I got some constraints. Now I can start building that out. Constraints help you as a creative. So let's go. I'll go back to comments in a moment, but let's go on here. So my idea was that, okay, let's go Knight, Druid, Witch, and Damsel. Now, I do really need to think about the Gazetteer, especially in relation to what I was talking about with regard to the story with my mentor out in LA, particularly on Monday, because we had the way this went is we had to constrict. The first thing that happened was, okay, we had to constrict the scope of this story because there's so much stuff that can happen. But then again, once you start working on the beat sheet and you're like, we got 120 pages worth of script or 120,000 words in a novel, there's only so much that can happen. So you end up having to constrict the story. But once we constricted it, then we went, okay, well, if this is going to be a series, which I would like for it to be, so a series of novels, but not an endless series of novels, but this has to be the first book in a series of novels. This first book also has to connect directly and tie the characters into the conflict of the greater story arc. So we have to resolve the story in the first book That, I mean, it has to have a story that's resolved. It's not some cliffhanger ending or anything weird like that. You come to the end of this story at the first end here, but it has to tie into the greater story. Example of that, perhaps the ideal example of that, is Star Wars, the original Star Wars. It tells its story, Luke Skywalker to the destruction of the Death Star, but it also situates that in the context of, you hear the Emperor being talked about and the greater galactic struggle, what's going on with the Emperor. So you know that there are other things. There's a greater evil out there. And not only that, but Darth Vader escapes at the end. So the story is complete, but Darth Vader has escaped, and you've already seeded this idea of a greater evil out there. So these, according to Wolfgang, the gazetteer here must describe each location that's important and why you want to go adventuring there, because this is an RPG thing. So what's going on there? What's the conflict, and why would you want to adventure there? So these were some locations that I think are important, but also my idea here for the campaign setting is I don't want there to be spoilers for the storyline. So instead, I want this campaign setting, all of the RPG stuff that I'm putting out, to give you the state of the world and what's going on up till the moment when the story starts. So you're not reading spoilers, or you're not getting ahead in the story. This is going to describe the state of the world as it is right before the start of the story. And then we go from there. So we actually started talking about what significant locations are there going to be in this story, not only in the first story, but in over the whole arc. So I want to make sure those are covered, and that some of these existing ones are adjusted to be that. Like, for instance, we were having a conversation about why one particular earldom is important because of its geographic location. So I want to be sure that I'm specifying that. So I may have to adjust what locations I'm covering based on what is going on in the story and what is coming after that. So, but anyway, so some small selection of stories, selection of locations, and then I gave like 200 words I allotted myself. Elmhearth is a big location, so I allocated 500 words to that. And big is an important. That Elmhearth is the castle in Goodnight Sword. If you look up Goodnight Sword and you watch that animated audiobook that's here on YouTube, the castle of Elmhearth is that castle. The Old Forest. So, but anyway, allocated 200 words. 200 words. What this place is, why it's cool, and why you'd want to go adventure there. That's what's got to be hit right there. Religion and magic. So there are several different overlapping religions and things like that and in here. But I figured that since I've got druids and knights here, I should talk about druidism. I should talk about witchcraft. And then I should talk about the main line religion of which is not druidism or witchcraft, but the main line religion of Rabivania, which is called the Locked. So I figured I should talk about that. That way, if you're playing a witch or a druid character, you understand the potential conflict between your religions and the Locked. And I allocated 500 words for each one of those. Now, so we've had some questions about this. Mill Master says, like the Sega game where humans were slaves and anthropomorphic animals were the masters. Sands of Destruction. I don't know that one. But no humans. Yeah, no humans. So, I think that different people. So nobody's shooting fireballs or anything like that in Tales of Rabivania, or in Theophany for that matter either. Nobody's doing that. Now, what type of magic system you want in an RPG? Like when I'm writing the magic system, like there are some interesting ideas in different Fate modules that I think would work very well, especially for the witchcraft. So if you're playing a witch, what type of magic is it? Some people, though, will want to do something with higher order magic. And if they want to do that for their own table and the games they play, it's absolutely fine. So if you were playing this with the Dungeons and Dragons rules, for instance, you may want your druid to be able to polymorph, right? The druids in Rabivania aren't going to be polymorphing, but if you were trying to just import the Dungeons and Dragons rules and you're having fun with it, well then okay, why not? But this is a low fantasy. I regard both of these worlds, Tales of Rabivania and Theophany, as low fantasy. So they're low fantasy worlds. There's nobody's gonna be throwing around a fireball. Magic also, there is magic in the mythology from crafting. The crafting is a part of that. Michael of St. Joseph says limitations are the key. They make ideas real. Yes, they do. Absolutely. Absolutely. Darth Gavel says, so would there be holy crusades, 100 years wars, black plagues? Well, potentially. Potentially. I haven't been dealing with anything about like plagues in the story yet. Although there could be. There could be. Holy crusades could be. 100 years wars could be. Yes. Woot, Kickstarter was delivered. Oh, then I'll be on the Discord. Oh, stay awesome. Oh, Kickstarter rewards coming in. Go enjoy it. Oh, Discord link. Let me throw the Discord link. There's a place to talk about the Tales of Rabivania on the Discord, and I have a specific channel that's dedicated to the feed from World Anvil. I'm not ready to start uploading stuff to World Anvil yet because I got to write it. But the idea was that when I update a World Anvil article on the Tales of Rabivania or the Theophany article, there will be an update in the World Anvil Rabivania or Theophany thread that tells you, hey, there was just an update of information. So the World Anvil, we've got the World Anvil site up. We were looking at that last World Building Wednesday, I think it was, or the time before. So the World Anvil site's there, but there's not a whole lot in it because you got to write the stuff first. That's the obstacle. World Anvil is a great tool for organizing all of your world stuff. I really like it. I wanted to use it before they even agreed to sponsor the show. So it was really great that they came by later and said, hey, why don't we sponsor World Building Wednesdays? Fantastic. I wanted to use it before then, but just having World Anvil doesn't get your world done. You have to actually sit down and write it. So that's why the structure is great. Magic apothecary, potions, salves, oils, alchemists. So probably alchemists as well. Yeah, Dr. Octagon says low fantasy really helps if you want to nail the historical realism. And of course, it sounds a bit ridiculous to say, hey, let's do something historically accurate as far as when you're talking about a world of medieval rabbits. But on the other hand, I actually do. I want it to be very grounded. I want this to feel very real. So low fantasy, I think, is the way to go. Okay, so that's the thinking there. Now, I have orders and organizations here. So I put 500 words for the Order of Chivalry, which is the knighthood. Now, that could move up if I don't want to have this other chapter. This is kind of like knights described as for play, for the actual playing stuff, not the rules, but much more like the kind of stuff that you'd see as a class description. This is much more stuff about how knighthood works in the world in general. And then also I kind of thought that understanding a little bit about the noble structure of Rabivania, which is more complicated than this, but some type of idea on their leadership structure, the High King, the Baronage, the Archbarons, and the Marcher Lords. We should add that someplace. I don't know where I would put that if the Order of Chivalry goes up here, because you could put information on the religion of the Druids and information on that up there, but this structure may make more sense. So this would be something to describe the overall political situation of the kingdom. Briefly, but its political structure. Then down here, the last thing, I think there should be some information for non-player characters or bad guys to fight, who are other things in the kingdom. And so we've got foxes, mice. The foxes do not talk. The foxes are very much like actual foxes. The mice are anthropomorphic. So the mice are rabbit allies. So I thought some little brief write-up and like an NPC write-up of a mouse would be nice. The raccoons are the barbarian hordes. So the raccoons are anthropomorphic. So they need a write-up. You need like a raccoon warrior write-up because your knights could be fighting them. The rats are anthropomorphic. So we need a write-up of the rats. The weasels are anthropomorphic. So we need a write-up of like an NPC weasel. The snakes are not anthropomorphic, but nonetheless, they're like the dragons. So lots of knights will want to go and make a name for themselves by killing snakes. So the snake seems like a good write-up to have back in here. These will have to be quick. But it will give you some type of something to go off of and play with. And then the squirrel right here. So the squirrel is also anthropomorphic. So that gives you like an NPC write-up for other people, for other types here. Now, later, as we expand, some of these could be moved to entire player character species, but in a later book. I don't think there's time for that here. So that is the thinking of a structure of a 10,000 word book on this world. How are we doing on time? Let's see. Andrew says, well, rabbits would be natural miners, giving their digging, so plenty of ore for turning ore into weapons. And you know what I found out about, I mean, they are excellent at that. So they dig and they build the warrens and tunnel the warrens, but then they also build structures on the surface as well. I found out that in the wild, it's the female rabbits that dig the burrows. So I think that would be a funny thing to add in here, because it's the female rabbits who are actually doing the construction work when it's time to actually build out the burrow. That's they, for whatever reason, it's the female rabbits who do that. So I think it'd be funny to include that in Rabivania. And actually, I also like that the word for a male rabbit is a buck. And then the word for a female rabbit is a doe. So rather than man and woman, we have bucks and does. And I love the fact that the male rabbits are called bucks, because that means they can actually tell each other, you're going to have to buck up, brother, or buck up. That's going to have to be used, because the ducks and bows are great. Chase Street says, right, high fantasy can be really cool, but it's way too easy to chase a random cool magic idea down a rabbit hole. No pun intended. Low fantasy is usually easier with regards to staying focused. Andrew says, from my experience growing up, cats were the big enemies of rabbits. I have seen them take out rabbits that were twice their size. So, yes. Now, when I was writing, I haven't decided how to handle cats yet, because when I was originally writing this all out longhand, and maybe one day I'll just show for the heck of it, like these giant binders that I have that write out Rabivania. In the original conceptualization of this, then the cats were anthropomorphic. There was a whole nother kingdom of cats. I'm not sure if I'm doing that now. It doesn't seem to quite fit this kind of theme here. So I'm not sure I'm handling cats. That's why cats have not been included yet. They were originally anthropomorphic, and the same issue with dogs. The dogs were originally anthropomorphic as well, because that families, friends have pet dogs and things like that. But I think it's going to be too difficult to integrate into the story. So no. At the moment, I haven't made a call on that. But cats and dogs used to be anthropomorphic, but they have not made a call on that regarding the new incarnation of Rabivania. So we will see. Oh, Retro Nerd Girl says, this looks incredible. Great job so far. Thank you. So we typically go for about an hour here in the morning. So that's basically the structure. So now that I got the structure, I got to write some more. What we can do next time on next World Building Wednesdays is that I've actually, as you can see, started writing out the introduction. So we can go over the introduction and we can figure out, and you guys can help me if this is actually a good introduction to the Tales of Rabivania. Because I want that's going to be a very important section to write. Those 750 words are what's going to need to hook everyone into the world and go, oh, and hey, well, actually, the bullet points like on the back of the book and things like that. There are other things that like, oh, man, look, this looks cool. Oh, this is this on the back. Oh, this looks cool. And then when you read the introduction, you need to go, oh, yeah, this sounds like something I definitely need to play in. So but that's going to be a very important 750 words. And I have gotten almost through that. So I guess we will look at that next time. And then hopefully I'll have more written as well. That's why it's so important to protect my core creative time. I'm trying to work on the world primer for Theophany, Rabivania, and the 10,000 words on the RPG, while also working on the beat sheet for the actual story. Roman Live says, what about dogs specifically bred to hunt rabbits, beagles, dachshunds, and Jack Russells? I don't know. Like I said, because the dogs can be so much larger than rabbits. How does that, if they're going to be anthropomorphic, how does that work? So they could not be anthropomorphic, or they could speak, but not like wear clothes and stuff like that and be part of the kingdom. I haven't decided that yet. So, but they're no humans. But on the other hand, I don't think it's a problem if they're included to have a specific breed like a beagle. I don't think that's a problem. Now, like Pomeranians, like a Pomeranian, the small dog that could integrate, and if it were anthropomorphic, maybe it would fit in. So maybe there are specific smaller breeds. So I don't know about that. Dr. Octagon says maybe you could make the cats and dogs represent other regions of the world, like Asia or the Americas or something like that. Could be. If they're different kingdoms, they need to be culturally different, I think, than Rabivania. Factotum says you have the whole monsters category of sphinxes and other talking but bestial animals that dogs and cats could fill. Yeah, that's a great point. That is a great point. They could do that. So you could have to go and talk to a dog or something like that, and that keeps the dog from having to wear armor and stuff like that in a world where, because the rats, the mice, the squirrels, even the raccoon, the rabbits, they're all the same kind of size. So even though there will be visually, there'd be opportunity to play with that, I don't think they would look out of like visually, like some kind of visual problem with that, because they're all creatures that are basically the same size. Now the mice are smaller, and I think want to play with some of that humor as well, that the mice are smaller than the rabbits, but those are still in a size category. If you have something like, some giant dog breed, that's not going to be right. So that's one of the reasons out. Lord Maelstrom says, in real life, rabbits come in many varied subspecies, miniatures, giant French lops, etc. I raised a chinchilla satin as a kid. Yes, and I've thought about that there can be different species of the rabbits, and yeah, I mean there are some really large rabbit species, but also like snow rabbits and things like that. I think that needs to be added in. Yeah, Darth Gavel says the rats would be a plague unto themselves. Yeah, yes. I think everybody could be afraid that the rats have a disease or something for that reason. Nobody likes to be around the rats because, like, and some of the good rats are like, but I don't have a disease, but could be. So, okay, so that's where we are. So World Building Wednesday. So we build worlds on Wednesday. So this is the one of the two worlds that we're working on. So tonight we may do a wind down. There may be a live stream tonight. Wednesday nights we're supposed to be doing a wind down. We might talk about the OGL situation in light of the conversation with Bob last night. I need to clip some more stuff. So there'll be more clips about all of this coming out on the YouTube channel of this afternoon into this evening. We should be live this evening, but I'm going to step away from the internet here starting about noon in about an hour and a half, and then try to exercise and then do Cork Ray of time to actually work on all this stuff. Yep, the jackrabbit, of course. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out with me. Hope that inspires your creativity and giving you energy. Let's go be creative and be productive all day. Let's do it. See you later.